The first speaker will be Didier Jourdan, and together with MinChien, Tsai, and Didier, you will tell us a little bit about UNESCO Chair and your work on well-being of teachers in particular, and how this is related to well-being of learners. And then MinChien, you will present the current state of knowledge concerning health and well-being of education staff, drawing on the research with the International Barometer of Education Staff Health and Well-being. And you will not only look at challenges, but also at possible solutions.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And again, I'm extremely happy to be here today to share with you some thoughts about this key issue, which is a global issue that is the health and well-being of teachers and in general educational staff. Our role with Dr. Tsai is just to set the scene, and the main content of the webinar is directly connected to the great publication of the UNESCO Institute for Technologies in Education. The webinar is inspired by these two briefings that we're going to talk about during this meeting. Just briefly to introduce the UNESCO chair and make clear that our vision is a world where students of all ages are ready to learn and thrive, and where in turn quality education support lifelong well-being. And to do that, we need for the students to be supported by equitable systems, motivated teachers, cross-sectoral collaboration, ethical technologies, and the key principle, which is nothing about them without them. As you can see, the teachers and the educators in general are at the very core of the vision of the UNESCO chair. The mandate of the UNESCO chair is based on 4 core activities. The first one is to contribute to the community of the people involved in education and health. The second one is about doing research. The third one is about developing training programs. And the last one is contributing to social change by knowledge transfer. And the UNESCO chair has 4 main programs that are linked to school health, community health, and also genuine participation and involvement of the communities in the education of children and young people. And of course, the mediation of digital technologies is extremely important. And that's why the partnership of the UNESCO chair with the IITT Institute is extremely important. To set the scene, I just would like to say something that for me is the key when you want to understand what are the determinants of teachers' well-being and teachers' health. There is no well-being without work well done. And in French, we say, il n'y a pas de bien-être sans bien faire. There's many different dimensions of HR management, of environment of the buildings, of organization of the school systems that are extremely important. But at the very core of what generates health and well-being for teachers, there is this idea of performing quality work, of being able to do what has to be done with the kids. That's why it's extremely important to have in mind, and this is what the other speaker is going to talk about, is that there's no distinction between the professional activity, the occupation of the people, and their occupational health and well-being. Clearly, these two things are interlinked. And among the rewards of a teacher, of course, the income is something. But the first reward is to be able to do a good job for the education of all the kids they have in charge. So meaning and fulfillment are absolutely crucial and this meaning and fulfillment emerge when the individuals, the teachers, can recognize themselves in work done well. This recognition is at the very core of what creates health and well-being for teachers. Of course, work well done means quality. It's meaning the professional standards. It's being able to teach what has to be taught. But it's more than that. It's also linked to the purpose. And when people choose the career of teachers, they have a purpose in life, which is linked to share, to educate, and the alignment between the everyday activity and this purpose is extremely important in the well-being of teachers. And finally, this is the recognition. This is not only the acknowledgement by the hierarchy, but from ourselves and from others for what has to be done. So, to set the scene of this webinar, what's important is to have in mind that we are also talking about the professional activities of teachers, not only the way in which human resources are managing teaching workforce, not only the environment, the organization of the system that are absolutely crucial, of course, and thanks to the commitment of the administration of the union, we are moving forward. But we have to have in mind that what's behind is the question of the quality. The question is the link with the purpose of the teachers and the recognition for their job. Job well done, quality, purpose, recognition. On the top of that, to be able to do it, there's conditions. These conditions are linked to autonomy, the capacity for teachers to make the best decision for the students. The resources, it means the quality of the tools, but also the support. Think of the importance of the support service, the inspectors in the different systems that helps to reach the quality. And at the time, we are in the International Mariam School here in Lomé, in Togo, in Western Africa. And we are doing, together with other local colleagues here, training that is hybrid. It means face-to-face now and online in order to help the teachers to do their job in a positive way and to support them. And finally, there's the feedback, which is also a condition. So job well done and all these key components, quality, purpose, and recognition with the three key determinants that are autonomy, resources, and feedback. That's all for this introduction. I just would like to tell you that the work we are doing is based on many sources, but one of the most important is the iBest project, which is the International Barometer on Health and Well-being of Education Staff. We are engaged in the scientific committee. The iBest project is led by MGEN, which is a mutual, and the MGEN Foundation, which is a scientific entity in charge of the quality of the research specialized in epidemiology, together with Education International, which is the union of the unions at the global level, and Education Support, which is another NGO. Based on this data, we are able to offering solutions. Because, a lot of people are talking about the difficulties the teachers have, about the teacher shortage, about the lack of well-being of the teachers, their health, especially in the field of mental health. What is our mission all together is to use all the data we have to move forward and to offer solution. And this is the role of Dr. MinChien Tsai, which is an occupational psychologist. Her specialty is teachers' health and well-being. Over to you, Dr. Tsai.
Thank you, Didier, for the introductions. Thank you. I will briefly share key insights from IBEST 2023, the second edition of this international survey. Then I will use job crafting as one critical approach from challenge to possible action and highlight its implication for both education staff and organizations. IBEST 2023 collect response from over 26,000 education staff across 11 territories on 4 continents. and 4 territories had also participated in 2021. Most participants were teachers, mainly female, with an average age of around 44. This gives a broader picture for education staff, especially teachers. The findings highlight 5 key challenges facing education staff globally. First, inequality in access to professional digital equipment means that education staff do not all have the same resources to support their work. Second, job stress remains a major concern, with a high level of stress reported at work. Third, workplace violence has increased compared with 2021, which is particularly worrying. Fourth, many participants feel that their profession is not a well-valued activity, and they also report limited career development opportunity. And finally, there are also concerning levels of negative psychological experience. Taken together, these findings highlight important challenges affecting education staff well-being, and this underline the need for greater support for them. In response, the UNESCO IITE brief explore possible practical ways forward. And one possible pathway is job crafting. Job crafting involves proactive, self-initiated change people make in their work. Research suggests that job crafting supports well-being and work quality, particularly under challenging working conditions. In this way, job crafting helps translate challenge into action, support both profession development and the protection of well-being. There are 3 common ways people shape their work through job crafting. First, task crafting involves adjusting job tasks. For example, how tasks are carried out, in what order, or using different methods. Second, relational crafting involves shaping the relationship with colleagues, including collaboration and coordination. Third, cognitive crafting involves shaping how people think about their work. For example, by reframing the meaning of their job or their role. Within task crafting is helpful to distinguish developmental crafting and utilization crafting. Developmental crafting involves developing new skills and knowledge, while utilization crafting involves making better use of existing skills and knowledge. Our interview data provide clear example of both forms. Some participants took on more difficult tasks or developed new skills from learning from colleagues and investing time reflecting developmental crafting. Another participant applied skills and strategies they had learned earlier in life. This illustrates utilization crafting. One participant described introducing professional learning community, drawing on an existing idea. This reshaped collaboration and enable teachers to identify each other's expertise and adjusting teaching role. This demonstrates utilization crafting and relational crafting. This shows the different forms of job crafting often work together in practice. Our interview also helped us to understanding relational and cognitive crafting. One participant shared how tasks were defined based on strengths. They took responsibility for planning while a colleague focused on interacting with the elderly. This illustrates relational crafting. Another participant reflects on becoming more mature, developing empathy, or learning to see situations from others' perspective. This demonstrates cognitive crafting. This example shows how job crafting can also help people sustain their well-being and adapt the challenging situation. Job crafting is also described as a bottom-up approach. However, it's also shaped by organizational context. Research shows that leadership and organizational conditions play an important role in supporting job crafting. There are three key actions that school leadership can take. First, protect autonomy and enable flexibility. When teachers have professional autonomy, they have the space to adapt their work in ways that support their well-being and work quality. Second, minimize unnecessary administrative burden. Reducing unnecessary demand help remove a barrier and allow teachers to focus on meaningful work. Third, align recognition with meaningful work. When schools recognize and value professional, meaningful contribution, they reinforce motivation and encourage teachers to sustain positive way of shaping their work. This reminds us job crafting is shaped not only by individual initiatives, but also by organizational conditions. Job crafting is not a universal solution, but it helps us identify potential resources and practical possibility for action at both the individual and organizational level. I hope these insights contribution to our discussion today. Thank you.